If he's not famous, he should sue the UFC.
You got two main eventers that got demoted to a co-main event. I mean, if you're in that spot, your eyes had better pop wide open this morning. Masvidal hasn't been booked in a meaningful amount of time. I remember his last fight. I was at it. T-Mobile, Las Vegas, opposite Colby Covington, which was a main event. As was Masvidal's fight before that, as was Masvidal's fight before that. You go to a co-main event, you don't wake up in a good spot. I'm just sharing this for you, right? We can look forward to this fight, and I do, but there is another side to this. What have you predicted? What have you predicted the BMF champion, the second biggest draw in the sport, opposite Burns, who we want something good to happen to because we know he can beat anybody at any given moment, and he is due a good opportunity. Would you have predicted that they would have been demoted to a co-main event, and if so, what do you think about that? Is this the fight? Should they put the BMF belt up? Should this become a number one contender for Burns? It's just another thing that Burns has to do? Where do you go from here, and where do you draw from here? Typically speaking, when you have a fight to the magnitude of two former number one contenders and they're going out there and they're going to fight, typically, they would do the best that they could do to get a conversation around that fight that it be identified and recognized as a potential number one contenders match. Now, we don't do a lot of number one contenders matches. We do some of them, but we don't do a lot of them. What we do a lot of is getting fights that are potentially identified. We don't get a lot further than that. This one could be the number one contenders fight. Okay, great, let's potentially identify it. What do you think? What do you think? You got two big stars in a co-main event spot. And I'm one of those participants. I thought I was going to be in there with Conor McGregor. I qualify to be in there for a world title, right? I'm combining both of their resumes. I haven't fought in a period of time. I've been nothing but main events. Oh, wait, I'm a co-main event underneath two kickboxers. Cool. I'm going to put my shoes on. I'm going to go run. I'm going to go do everything else. But in the back of my mind, I realize
as of right now, he's just going out there.
This is not being identified as a number one contender fight. This is a potential career-ending fight. You go from title fight to main event to co-main event. You keep going down the card. You go a couple more rungs.
Fight fans, welcome back to Luxurytainment. In this video, we'll take a closer look at the fights between Gilbert Burns versus Jorge Masvidal at the UFC 287.
From the arena on Fight Island.
It's the Leech versus the Wolf. Let's see who eats who.
This is a no-nonsense fight.
Break his face, man, in a violent way.
You came in here, you talk so much. Now you gotta see me. You're gonna see me. I'm gonna beat you up.
Will I f him up and Dana White knows it? Hell yeah, bro.
Well, I feel like Masvidal's championship cow.
I've been a fan of that guy since way
too.
back.
Me
and
too.
Everyone's just finding out now. All these guys, Street Jesus. I'm like, well, I'm not a hipster. Like, I knew him before he was cool, man. You know, I don't want to be that guy. But I like his resurrection. I like the fact that he rebranded himself because you have to do that. I see it in movies. I see actors do it. Entertainment. You rebrand yourself, new package, and then boom. And also,
do you know what happened with him?
He said he went away.
Former UFC welterweight title challenger Gilbert Burns has predicted a war, and a bloody one at that, against veteran contender Jorge Masvidal at UFC 287 in April. Gilbert Burns, the current number 5 ranked welterweight contender, is to co-headline UFC 287 on April the 8th in a clash with two-time title chaser Masvidal, with the pay-per-view event set to take place at Miami. Masvidal has not fought since March 2022 when he lost a unanimous decision to Colby Covington in the main event of UFC 272. Prior to that, Masvidal had a pair of back-to-back defeats to then champion Kamaru Usman. Masvidal has not fought since March 2022 when he lost a unanimous decision to Colby Covington in the main event of UFC 272. And prior to that, Masvidal had a pair of back-to-back defeats to then champion Kamaru Usman. Masvidal has a pending legal case stemming from his alleged attack on Covington back in March in Miami Beach. He faces charges on single counts of aggravated battery, resulting in great bodily harm and criminal mischief. If found guilty, Masvidal could face up to 15 years in prison or a $10,000 fine. Featuring on the main card of UFC 283 back in January, in his native Brazil, Gilbert Burns managed to land a comprehensive first-round arm triangle victory over Neil Magny. Gilbert Burns battled the undefeated Khamzat Chimaev over the course of 3 rounds in 2022, suffered a close, unanimous decision loss to the Chechen. Previewing his April comeback against Masvidal in Miami, Gilbert Burns expects a bloody showdown with the veteran. "I don't think it's going to be easy," Gilbert Burns told Luxurytainment. "I think it's going to be that bloody. I think you're gonna get to a point that we're gonna bang, you're gonna go to a war, and let's see a finish. You know, maybe second, maybe late third round, but I'm looking forward to a finish."
That Masvidal was gonna fight McGregor. But it was out there. Right, that was on the list. There's even some real quick conversation on the Ultimate Fighter. So, when you think about Burns, when you think about Masvidal, when you think about this fight, okay, everything that I just said, that all sounds good, right? That all sounds good. It's a co-main event. And we got to look at it from that perspective because that is very interesting. You have Burns, who is producing amongst the greatest matches that we've seen. He wants to fight for a championship. Now, if you're fighting on a pay-per-view and there's no belt up, you're typically not going to go into a main event spot. But let's just make sure we understand this. You then have Masvidal, who at one point was the sport's second biggest draw.
Just days after their matchup was announced for the April the 8th card, the one-time UFC welterweight title challenger Gilbert Burns requested a 25-minute co-headliner. Masvidal quickly shot down that idea, adding that he already signed his fight agreement and wasn't interested in a 5-round fight unless the UFC pays him BMF money.
If I wake up today and I see that match and I'm one of those participants, I thought I was going to be in there with Conor McGregor. I qualify to be in there for a world title, right? I'm combining both of their resumes. I haven't fought in a period of time. I've been nothing but main events. I'm a co-main event underneath 2 kickboxers. Cool. I'm gonna put my shoes on, I'm gonna go run, I'm gonna go do everything else. But in the back of my mind, I realize this is not a career-making fight. This is not being identified as a number 1 contenders fight. This is a potential career-ending fight.
Gilbert Burns still plans on delivering a stellar performance whether he has 15 or 25 minutes to work. But he prefers an extra 2 rounds just to ensure he can put Masvidal away before the final bell. The main goal is destroying these guys and becoming a champion, Gilbert Burns said. So if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. 3 rounds, I'm going to make that guy suffer so much in 3 rounds that it should be enough. but 5 rounds just guarantees a finish. If the fight is 5 rounds, I'll finish, but if he don't want it, it's all good. Even more than the 5-round fights, what Gilbert Burns really wanted was the opportunity to compete for the BMF title Masvidal claimed after beating Nate Diaz in a special attraction in 2019. While numerous opponents have called for the same chance to take the belt from Masvidal, the BMF title was largely ceremonial and is not recognized by the UFC. That said, Burns believes his record of accepting any opponent thrown at him, regardless of ranking or location, speaks volumes about his own BMF credentials. Gilbert Burns told Luxurytainment, "Having that belt, I think the true fans know I'm not trying to put myself on a different level from everybody. I think we're all humans, we're the same, but I'm different. I fight anyone. I think I'm the BMF in the division, and the whole UFC know it. I fight anyone. I fought Khamzat Chimaev, I fought Neil Magny, I fought Wonderboy. Those guys all called me out."
We can look forward to this fight, and I do, but there is another side to this. What have you predicted that? What have you predicted the BMF champion, the second biggest draw in the sport, opposite Burns, who we want something good to happen to because we know he can beat anybody at any given moment, and he is due a good opportunity. Would you have predicted that they would have been demoted to a co-main event? And if so, what do you think about that?
Despite a back and forth with Masvidal, Gilbert Burns promises he has nothing but the utmost respect for his opponent. His only real issue came down to his revelation last year that the UFC offered him a fight against Masvidal, and he accepted, only to see Masvidal claim that wasn't the case. More than anything, Burns wants to set the record straight that he's never turned down a UFC opportunity. I generally like Masvidal, and this is going back to the days of the yard fights, but I think with the ongoing legal case and too many things going on around him, he will be beaten by Gilbert Burns, and I predict pretty early on. So guys, who do you have winning in this fight between Gilbert Burns versus Jorge Masvidal? Thanks for watching, please like, subscribe, comment, and have a great day.
We go again.